contact, and she took care of everything.
That contact that First Energy provides, Dave, he's the real deal. He does nice work. So we're very lucky that he's our contact. Dr. Riley. There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Director, how are you?
Good.
Hi, everybody.
Mayor?
So it's 6:30. I was going to call the meeting of the Fairview Park Board of Control to order. Director Costello, if you could please take the roll.
Councilmember Minnick.
Here.
Director of Law Riley.
Here.
Director of Finance Single.
Here.
Mayor Cooney.
Here.
And I am here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. We have minutes that were distributed prior to tonight's meeting for our June 1st, 2020 meeting. I'll accept a motion to approve as submitted unless somebody has a change or an amendment.
Motion to approve.
Director
Second.
Single, is there a second? Councilman Minnick, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. We have one item on the agenda tonight, and that's for the purchase of a VersaCam system for Lorraine Road for traffic signal. Director, if you can give us a little background on that, please.
Thank you. This is requesting permission for the purchase of a system that will cycle the, sorry about that, I don't have a mute for my office phone, that will cycle the signal through without using loops that have to be placed in the ground. It's important for this intersection because for the signal to operate, a set of loops has to be in the driveway apron of private property. And, the private property owner is tasked with maintaining that apron, and it's not in the best condition. And so repairing the loops would require, reinstallation of a private driveway apron, which we just kind of want to get away from. And what this offers us is an alternative, a safe infrastructure that will use a higher technology that we can hang on our own signal equipment. And so what this purchase will include are the camera, cable, and hardware. And in our initial quote was for under $5,000, $4,680. But our personnel, upon installation, were informed that the install costs were going to be additional to the quote, that they hadn't been included in the quote, which wasn't particularly their understanding. And so those labor costs brought the total to $5,755. And these costs would be paid from the general fund. So we really appreciate your consideration. This is an exciting place to use this new technology for us to get used to it, use it, see how it operates. And as this infrastructure wears in the future, and as we move through replacement, we can see if this is the technology that we want to transition to. So we're very excited to watch how this new information technology operates for us.
Okay, any questions about this item?
Director Costello?
Yes, sir.
Is this the light at the west end of the Fairview Park Shopping Center?
Yes, it is. It's between West 220 and West 219.
Right.
And it hasn't been functioning very well. It's causing some congestion. It's not really optimal. It's not moving traffic as efficiently as it could be because of these the situation with the loop. So it's currently just timed to whether there's traffic needs or not. It's just time to cycle through, and we can do better than that with this infrastructure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I would accept the motion to approve this item.
So
So
made.
moved.
Okay, Director Single, second from Director Riley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the item is approved. Director, I don't think we have anything else. Is that correct?
That's our only item tonight.
Okay. So take a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Councilman Minnick, second.
I will.
Second.
Director Costello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, 6:45. I'd like to call the caucus to order. Council President Cobain and Councilwoman King will not be present this evening. I'll accept motions to excuse both of them. Committee reports. Brian,
Yep, I'm good.
Maureen,
Yeah, you better get ready. This is a long one.
4 pages,
I'll be joining Bridget on vacation after reading this, I think.
4 pages long. Okay. Maureen, you have 3 ordinances for first reading.
Yes,
Okay, second reading, you have 3 ordinances again.
correct.
And Sarah, you have one for passage without 3 readings.
Yep.
Maureen, you have one also for passage without 3 readings.
Correct.
Legislation for third reading and final passage. Maureen, you have 2.
Correct.
Okay. Any other information or comments?
If I may, Council President Minnick.
Sure.
Liz, just so I'm clear, I know you gave me that. I was over the weekend panicking and putting cheat sheets together, and then you were so kind as to provide it for me. Just for my own clarification, when I'm reading, do I say I have 3 ordinances to be placed on first read and then say, would the clerk please assign a number and read the titles? Or do I keep saying I have 1 and then another 1 and then another 1?
No, just
You're on mute, Liz.
right.
Only for the ones on third read, do you have to do them individually and say, I'd like to place ordinance? But for the others, you just say that I'd like to place, but the chair actually says, ask me to read them. So you don't have to say that part. So you just say, I have 3 ordinances placed up for first reading. And then Councilman Minnick will say, will the clerk please read the titles?
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And for the emergency ones, you will have to say the
Whole thing about
the motion to
Charter.
suspend the charter provision in Rule 49.
correct. Okay.
And we
Okay.
only have to do that one because they were already in committee, so we don't have to do the second one where we dispense with 53.
Okay.
Any other comments? Mayor, any comments?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Georgia Costello, anything?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Director Riley?
Nothing at this time.
And Greg, anything?
Nothing, Mr. Minnick. Thank you, though.
Thank you. We'll start in 12 minutes. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Good evening. The regular meeting of Fairview Park City Council for Monday, June 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. is called to order. May we have a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Simmerly,
Here.
Mr. Minnick,
Here.
Mrs. Adler,
Here.
Mr. Cobain, absent. Mrs. Waring,
Here.
Mrs. King, absent. Mr. Berger,
Here.
Thank you. The chair will accept the motion to excuse Council President Cobain from this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to excuse Council President Cobain from this evening's meeting?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Council President Cobain is excused. The chair would also accept the motion to excuse Councilwoman King from this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to excuse Councilwoman King from this evening's meeting?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Councilwoman King is excused. Council Clerk Westbrook, do we have any written communications, petitions, or claims at this time?
no.
Thank you. Turning on to committee reports. Councilman Simmerly, Vice Chair, Local Government and Community Services.
Thank you. The Local Government and Community Services Committee met on Monday, June 14th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. In attendance were members of council, Mayor Cooney, Director Costello, and Director Single. We discussed Ordinance 2144, amending Section 129.01, composition of the Police Department. In this ordinance, the Police Department structure will change to 1 Chief of Police, 2 Lieutenants of Police, 5 Sergeants of Police, and not more than 21 patrol or police officers. Mayor Cooney mentioned that this will go into effect on July 1st, 2021. So if council could please pass this on second read, it'd be greatly appreciated. A vote to pass Ordinance 2144 on second read was passed 6-0. Local Government and Community Services Committee ended at 7:04 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Adler, Vice Chair of Finance.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. The Finance Committee met via video conference on Monday, June 14th, 2021 at 7:04 p.m. Discussed that evening was Resolution 2104, Alternative Tax Budget 2022. This resolution was brought back to committee to make sure that there will be no changes to the alternative tax budget with the pending rec center project now. Director Singles said there would be no changes and there were no further questions on this piece of legislation. A motion to place this on third read and final passage was made and passed with a vote of 6-0. Ordinance 2145, authorizing purchase of muffin grinder for West 220th Pump Station. Director Costello spoke on this ordinance. The muffin monster is needed to grind up debris before it reaches the pump station to allow the water to continue to flow. The last time it was swapped out was in 2012. The director was asked what the life expectancy for this piece of equipment is, and since it is submerged in water constantly, the best case is 12 years. The director was asked if the muffin monsters can be moved from one station to the other, and it cannot. A request was submitted with this piece of legislation to pass this on emergency read. A motion was made to have this up for second read and passage and passed with a vote of 6-0. The next three ordinances all pertain to the pool pack, the pools, and the rec center roof. Director Kemp was part of the conversation. Questions were asked of the mayor and administration as to why council was not made aware of the situation until May. According to the detailed invoices provided, this problem began in February and nothing was said to council until May. The mayor explained since they did not know what the problem was, they were waiting to have answers and a solution together before bringing it to council. The mayor apologized and told council that his administration was not deliberately keeping things from council and in the future will keep council in the loop. Ordinance 2146, authorizing payment for investigation work for Gemini Center dehumidification units. This ordinance is to pay for services already rendered by Wilhelm Roofing Company for their part of the investigation of the leak in the rec center roof. A 5-page detailed invoice was emailed to council detailing dates and amounts leading to the $16,583.23 total. The mayor was questioned as to why it was done incorrectly, since the charter states that all city spending over $15,000 needs to come before council for approval. The mayor and Director Costello explained that they were under the impression that the investigation would be covered under the warranty of the roof. And when the outcome of the investigation was that the leak was from the pool pack and not the roof of the invoice was submitted. Construction Resources, Inc., the designer who has been contracted to prepare drawings and construction documents for this project, were the ones who asked for and approved the work to be done. Construction Resources has not charged the city for any of the investigation work. Ordinance 2147, authorizing drawings and construction documents for dehumidification equipment and improvements for Gemini Natatorium. Some of the additional improvements that will be done include update on the ductwork in both pool areas, lighting upgrades, replacing the stairs, platforms, railings, and painting, to list a few. The pool resurfacing that was discussed in the last two budget hearings is not included in this ordinance. Removal of the old units, designing and installing the new units, and repairs to the roof are also included in the ordinance. Ordinance 2148, authorizing bids and contracts for new dehumidification units at Gemini Center. This ordinance states that the pool pack units have been underperforming since 2017, and the mayor did provide many documents showing council who worked on the units, what work was done, and the amounts paid out since 2017. The mayor was asked what events led to this statement that the units are not performing as they should. This question was asked to give a bit of historical perspective, since the mayor and the majority of his administration and the majority of council were not holding the positions at that time. In conjunction with the prior lawsuit with the roof, these two units were looked at for that case, and it was noticed that they are not performing as they should. These are the original units. They were removed to replace the roof, then they were placed back onto the roof. They were evaluated before they were replaced on the roof in 2019 and shown again that they were not performing as they should be. Once they are removed this fall, it is not worth to fix and put back, but to replace the whole units. The new units will again be placed on the roof, but the design will be new so that this current problem will not happen again. The engineer's report leads a trail of neglect with photo evidence by the HVAC companies that were contracted by the city to do maintenance on the units. Many questions were asked of the mayor, Director Kempf, and Director Costello about the approximate $3 million project. How long would be able to use the pool safely if the pool packs are not corrected? Using this space is not advised. Because of the water within the roof layers, this project must begin before the weather changes. This needs to be corrected before more damage is caused to wood ceiling and mold can grow in the rec center facility. It is proposed that the pool area is closed in September for approximately 8 months. During the construction period, members of the rec center will be allowed to use the pools in Rocky River and Westlake. We will only have access to their pool facilities, not their workout equipment. This is at no additional cost to members or the city. Director Kemp is working with these cities, and full details will be coming out closer to the closure of our pools. The mayor would like to extend a huge thank you to both mayors for their help in this situation. A concern was brought up that there were issues in the past when our center would be closed for the yearly deep clean. There have been problems entering the other facilities. Director Kemp will make sure that there will be a detailed discussion with the other facilities. This project has an almost $3 million price tag. Director Kemp and the mayor were asked what other options were investigated for this area. Could the 2 pools be filled in and the space be made into additional workout space, indoor pickleball courts, basketball courts, and host tournaments? If we close the indoor pool, maybe then offer an outdoor pool. Maybe these alternative uses could be less than $3 million and still work for the rec center and the community. No other options were looked at because lots of community members like the pools, and there's no space for an outdoor pool. And due to the climate, the usage of an outdoor pool would be so limited. With the contract with the school system, there is a need to maintain an indoor pool. Because of the contract with the school system, other alternatives like installing a window unit were looked into so the swim team would be able to use the home pool this season. But from an engineer point of view, it would not work. The $3 million price tag will include pool pack removal, design and installation of the new units, the repair to the roof, and the other upgrades listed before to the pool area. Installing the new units on the ground was considered, but there really is not enough room on the ground. The field between the track and rec center is programmable space that is used. And to place the units on the ground would require all new duct and mechanical work would need to be done to the building, which would raise the price of the project considerably. Were the loss of swim lessons, party rentals, and memberships taken into consideration into the $3 million price tag? No, it was not. Director Kempf did an analysis of lost revenue and cost saving, and it looks like we would break even. Since there will not be utility costs in running the pool, no chemical costs, and a decrease in employees, it will break even with the loss of revenue from an operational standpoint. Director Kempf also based his analysis on trends and past closures we have had. What will happen to memberships? Will refunds be offered or extension of current memberships? Director Kempf said we are looking at freezing current memberships during the shutdown, but you can only freeze the full membership. If a member chooses to freeze their membership, then they cannot use the workout facility or receive any of the other perks of membership. Will this project impact any other areas of the rec center? It should not. The HVAC and other utilities are separate from the pool operations, so there should not be a disruption to the rest of the rec center. The bigger issue is if this situation is not corrected, the humidity could affect the fitness floor, wallpaper, and possible growth of mold. During the budget discussions, it was talked about purchasing or leasing additional workout equipment. Will that be put on hold because of this large price tag? This is something being looked at currently. Earlier this year, with COVID-19 hangover and budget concerns, that issue was put on hold. Once this project is finalized, we will revisit the equipment upgrades to see if it is possible from a budget standpoint. Last week, we passed an ordinance requesting funds from the federal government to help with the cost of this project. If awarded, it would be on the reimbursed basis, and we do not have a timeline as to when it will get through the legislation process. The last time any earmarked money was passed was in 2009. How will the city pay for this project? Advance the funds and then get reimbursements from the government if awarded a grant. We have filed an insurance claim, the reconstruction fund and the general fund, possibly finance it, and a bit of all of the above to cover this cost. An insurance claim has been made. At this time, we are unsure if there is coverage from insurance or not. As we look forward, would the city consider offering naming rights and other advertising opportunities to help cover the costs? The mayor said he would be open to that. This conversation will continue at the next committee meeting on June 28th, and Director Kemp was asked to join us again. A motion was made to place Ordinance 2146, Ordinance 2147, and Ordinance 2148 on second read and return to committee, and they all passed with a vote of 6-0. Issue budget discussion. Director Single presented a brief update on where the city is on the 2021 budget. And since the tax deadlines were pushed back, we will have better working knowledge in August. The Finance Committee concluded at 8:29 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman Adler. I'll give you a chance to catch your breath. Turning now to our legislative agenda. Legislation for first reading, Councilwoman Adler.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. I have 3 ordinances to be placed on first reading.
Thank you. Would the clerk please assign numbers to the 3 ordinances and read the titles?
Ordinance 2149, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to engage the city engineer for inspection services related to various Dominion Energy infrastructure improvement projects within the city of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2150, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to advertise for bids and the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder as determined by the Board of Control to plant trees at Bain Park, Tri-City Park, and in tree lawns within the public right-of-way and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2151, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to purchase trees from Quinn Nurseries Incorporated and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ordinances 2149, 2150, and 2151 are placed on first reading and assigned to the Committee on Finance. Legislation for second reading, Councilwoman Adler.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. I have Ordinance 2146, 2147, and 2148 on second read.
Thank you. Would the clerk please read the titles of ordinances 2146, 2147, and 2148?
Ordinance 2146, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing emergency work and related costs regarding the investigation of the Gemini Center dehumidifier equipment, desiccant equipment, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2147, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to engage Construction Resources Incorporated and their respective consulting experts to prepare drawings and construction documents for the replacement of the dehumidification equipment and other improvements to the natatorium space at the Gemini Center and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2148, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to advertise for bids and the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder as determined by the Board of Control to install new
Did Liz freeze for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. I finished reading those for second reading, Bill. Councilman Minnick.
thank you. Ordinances 2146, 2147, 2148 are placed on second reading and returned to the Committee on Finance. Now is the time for audience input on legislation up for passage. Clerk Westbrooks, do we have any comments pertaining to the legislation?
Not legislation up for passage, no.
Thank you. Legislation out for passage without three readings, Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. I'd like to place ordinance 2144 up for emergency passage.
Thank you. Would the clerk please read the title of ordinance 2144?
Ordinance 2144, requested by Mayor Patrick J. Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman Waring. An ordinance amending section 129.01A entitled Composition of Chapter 129 entitled Police Department of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the charter provision and Rule 49 requiring three readings.
So moved.
Are we on, Liz?
Yeah,
Second.
it was second.
Any discussion pertaining to the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Mr. Summerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2144, is there any discussion?
Council President Pro Tem,
Councilwoman Waring.
if I may, Mayor Cooney, could I ask, the police department is moving from 3 lieutenants to 2 and 4 sergeants to 5. Can you explain what's going to happen to the 3rd lieutenant and how we're going to make 5 sergeants? Has there been a retirement that allows that to happen easily, or will there be a demotion?
There was Lieutenant Dennis Wilson retired on Friday, and so he will not be his position will not be replaced. And their Sergeant Jeff Drusak will be sworn in July. And this is something that had been contemplated in conjunction with the move of the police dispatch and jail services to North Olmsted. And this is something that we had contemplated.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation.
Any further discussion on ordinance 2144? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on passage of ordinance 2144?
Mr. Summerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2144 passes 5-0. Councilwoman Edler.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. I would like to place one ordinance 2145, before council for emergency passage.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 2145?
Ordinance 2145, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of one motorized grinder system, AKA Muffin Monster, at a price not to exceed $22,697.31 from JWC Environmental and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilman Adler.
I move that the charter provision and Rule 49 requiring that ordinance 2145 be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion pertaining to the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2145, is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on passage of ordinance 2145?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2145 passes 5-0. Legislation on for third reading and final passage. Councilwoman Adler.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. I would like to place ordinance 2141 on third reading and up for passage.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 2141?
Ordinance 2141, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance accepting the 2021 Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC Energized Community Grant to provide financial assistance for energy efficiency projects or energy infrastructure improvements, and authorizing the city administration to file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ordinance 2141 is placed on third reading. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2141, is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on passage of ordinance 2141?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2141 passes 5-0. Councilwoman Adler.
I would like to place resolution 2104 on third reading and up for passage.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance, resolution 2104?
Resolution 2104, originated by the Finance Department, requested by Mayor Patrick J. Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King. A resolution adopting the alternative tax budget of the city of Fairview Park, state of Ohio, for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022, and submitting the same to the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Resolution 2104 is placed on third reading. Prior to call for passage, is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on passage of resolution 2104?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2104 passes 5-0. This completes the legislative agenda this evening. Turning now to reports and communications from mayor, directors, and other city officials. Mayor Cooney.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem Minnick. Good evening, everybody. I want to let people know at the Senior Center, we have farmers market coupons that are available to residents, seniors, It's income dependent. I know we did not have the market last year because of COVID, but we've had it in the past. It's very popular with our seniors. If you know someone who may be interested and may qualify financially, I would encourage them to contact the Senior Center at 440-356-4436. The Senior Center is going to be offering some new classes, yoga on Mondays at 10 o'clock, and also a tech assistance program. There will be once a month, and we have a program on July 13th and August 10th. Both of those classes will be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's to provide assistance with phones, iPads, things that people may need assistance with. And commend Director Brandos in getting these new programs available for our seniors. The Rec Commission will be meeting this Wednesday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Gemini Center. We have some of our summer programs are up and running. Our summer camp, which has between 33 to 35 participants every day, is in session. And our Safety Town has begun. I'd like to commend Director Kemp and his staff for offering Safety Town to first grade students that were unable to attend last year due to COVID. And out of the 80 slots available this week, we have 76 students taking attending Safety Town. So that's a great ratio, and I commend the staff there for getting that together, and hope all the first graders have fun at Safety Town. We're sorry they missed it last year, but they're going to have an opportunity this year. The Flea Fest is this Saturday, June 26th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It'll be held in the Fairview High School parking lot. We'll have a lot of different vendors there, some local, some regional, and food trucks, and encourage everybody to come out and enjoy the Flea Fest. The splash pads are open. I know Director Kemp was at the Gemini yesterday and said they're open and going, and we encourage people to go. The hours at the Gemini are during operation hours, 10 a.m. to close, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday at Morton. The service department, while this doesn't affect, they're not performing this work, it does kind of fall under their bailiwick in that they assist some of the contractors in setting up equipment or responding to some of the issues. But we have a lot of street projects going on in the city. Dominion has projects on Brook Park Road and West 220th Street. In addition to that, we have the ODOT 210 project that started today. I would encourage our residents to be patient. We have a limited construction season here in Northeast Ohio, so a lot of these projects, are, just due to the weather, occur this time of year. When our weather is not cooperative from a construction standpoint, it can be quite harsh on our roads. So things need to be done. With respect to the Dominion project, I know again there's some inconvenience related to that, but I had an opportunity this weekend to walk 220, and we had some really nice sidewalks installed as a result of the work done there. And that's an investment in our community. Just from a sidewalk standpoint, we have better connections with our residents for their natural gas hookups, and in the long run, that's going to be beneficial to us all. So I just ask people to be patient and to be careful. We have people working, obviously, in these construction zones, and we want to be, safe, a safe environment for them. We will provide updates on these projects as we receive them. Sometimes with the weather, things don't go as quickly as we may have predicted, And so when changes occur, we will pass them on to council as well as to the residents. If people have a question or concern about a project, I would encourage them to contact us here at City Hall, and we can address it with the contractor. We can address it with their traffic control folks. So please keep us posted if you have any concerns. And again, ask that everyone be careful when driving in through these construction zones. I also ask people to be careful. We have our summer hydrant painter out. He's out painting hydrants. And again, we just ask when you see him or the other service department vehicles out, just to be careful when approaching it. The police department is in conjunction with AAA and our local Kiwanis Club will have the Helmet Smart project. Those children who are caught riding a bike with a helmet will get a coupon for a free ice cream cone at Dairyview. So I would encourage, it's another good reason to wear a helmet. And would also like to thank the local Kiwanis Club for their Helmet Smart project. They're going to be providing our officers with 50 helmets. And so when the officers come upon children who don't have a helmet, they will ask them if they would like to have one. So we appreciate that program, the support of AAA and the Kiwanis. And that concludes my report. And thank you, Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Service Development Director Costello.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem Minnick. As Mayor Cooney mentioned, the West 210 construction project is on its way. There was milling today. They took those multiple layers of asphalt off, and all the castings for manholes and catch basins will be ramped. And tomorrow, a seal coat will be applied. There'll be a loose stone cover so that sealant doesn't get on car tires. If anybody has to drive on the road tomorrow, please be aware that those are the conditions. Wednesday and Thursday, an interim layer of pavement as weather allows will be installed. And that's the interim layer that will remain on the street. So there will still be, through the duration, ramped manholes, catch basins, castings. So just be aware that those pose certain conflicts if you drive too fast down the road. And then on Monday, the 28th, the first zone will be put in place, which would require northbound traffic only. So that zone is from Lorraine to North Park. The detour will take people around Hillsdale to North Park and then south on the rest of 210, which will be two-way traffic all the way to Mastic. So expect traffic delays and avoid the area, please, if feasible. So Dominion projects have been at a record high. I've never seen this many projects go on in a community ever. We have the projects the mayor had mentioned, including installation from Clegg all the way to Brook Park, and then from Brook Park and Mastic to the Brook Park Bridge over the Rocky River, and as well as 220 Brookway. And then later on this summer, Belvedere, Stratford, and Elmore. So just an incredible amount of gas work. And again, we are appreciative of those infrastructure improvements. On Friday, we had concluded our RFP process for the design materials for the Bain Park restroom. And we'll be asking for an authorization for expenditure to the successful company on Monday. So we'll be sending a request for Board of Control again for Monday, the 28th. And then a big thank you for passage of the grinder. It was a little bit of a nail biter during our rains this weekend, but no flooding, no wet basements. And I just do appreciate the rule suspension. Thank you very much. It's very kind. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Costello. Finance Director Singal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one item tonight. The administration thanks City Council for approving Resolution 21-04, the 2022 alternative tax budget. And that concludes my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Singal. Law Director Riley.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. City Engineer Kerber.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem Minnick. I'm happy to report that we did finally receive comments from Cleveland Water for the 2021 water line project. So we made those revisions that they requested, and we resubmitted the plans today. So I hope that we will be going out to bid for that project very soon. We are also finalizing the plans for the street repair program, and we'll probably bid that in the next within the next 2 weeks or so. That concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Kerber. Now is the time for a public session. Clerk Westbrook, you received a comment. Would you please read?
Liz, you're on mute.
Yes, I received this email Thursday and got a request today that it be read for public session. So it comes from Todd Smith, 4211 West 212th Street. And it says, "Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that all of you and your families are well. I've been following the developments of the dehumidification units at the Recreation Center. This is all very unfortunate. Even with the amount of money that was spent on the roof in 2019, we are still having problems. I was wondering if someone could reach out to our neighboring rec centers, Rocky River, Westlake, and North Olmsted, to get some information on their experience with these units. Such as, number one, repairs recently done and history of major repairs. 2, age of units and if they have been completely replaced since original ones were installed. 3, amount spent on preventative maintenance as well as companies used. 4, estimated lifespan of their existing units. 5, any other information that can be gathered to help understand the issues with our units and if this is a normal occurrence. I've attached a news article about the North Olmsted wreck. They recently completed repairs and had a similar problem with condensation. As I recall, when our partial roof was being replaced and the units were on the ground, extensive repairs were made and a large amount of money was spent for this. We were told that this would prolong the life of the units. This does not seem to be the case, as it has not even been 2 years. There also was a prolonged period during this time that the pools were shut down due to the pandemic, so I imagine these units were not running or running at a reduced rate." He attached the article, which I will forward to everyone that did not receive this. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I wish you the best of luck. Sincerely, Todd Smith.
Thank you, Clerk Westbrook. I assume you'll be forwarding that email to the administration. Now is the time for miscellaneous business and reports from members of the council. Councilman Simmerly.
Councilman Mick, as Mayor Cooney mentioned, the Rec Commission will meet this Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Gemini Center. And also just wanted to thank Commissioner Maynard for answering some few questions for me over the past week and helped me out with a couple issues too. So thank you for that. And that concludes my report tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Adler.
Thank you, Council Pro Tem Minnick. First and foremost, I have to give credit where credit is due. The Finance Chair, Bridget King, the report that I shared tonight was her very extensive and detailed report, which I have even more respect for Bridget King than I already had. So she is on a well-deserved vacation, and I understand why. As getting the report, I have to admit my stomach was a flutter. So I thank her, as well as thank Clerk of Council Westbrooks for providing me too with guidance to make sure I didn't mess up for poor, Councilwoman King. So thank you. I also just want to give a shout out to Director Mary Kay Costello. Obviously, as the orange barrels were rolled out, I was receiving many inquiries as to what was going on West 210. Mary Kay, helped me along the way, as well as helped me to get a better understanding of the traffic flow that will take place on West 210. So thank you, Mary Kay, as well as to Mayor Cooney for following up on that. I also want to thank the Senior Center for providing us with classes for iPad use, iPhone classes. I think I'll be whipping out my newly acquired Buckeye card and bring my little iPad and iPhone along and see what they can do for me. So Fairview services will be put to use. Thank you again to the help that I received tonight, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Director Costello, if I may, I have two questions for you, and one is a bit embarrassing. I have driven to the EEC a couple of times in the last couple of days, but I've not thought to check. Did Massac Road reopen at 210?
So Massac Road Hill to the Valley Parkway did open on Friday.
Wonderful. So with all of the challenges in construction, we at least have one reopening.
There's one road, right?
I also had a question for you this evening. I know that Republic Waste had requested that they be allowed to pick up yard waste along with our bulk today due to some staffing challenges is what it looked like. I have two questions regarding that. The first is Councilman Berger actually shared with me a week or so ago an article where they were letting councils and cities across on the east side know that they were having personnel issues and to expect some service interruptions. I wondered if they had given us any indication of that. And the second question I have is, do we typically pay a tipping fee on yard waste? And if we don't, are we paying the tipping fee when they picked it up as bulk today? And is that a cost to the city that we should not have incurred?
Thank you. Two very good questions. The first question is the explanation that we received about the delay, and you may have noted in past collections there were a day delay in previous weeks. Just very heavy spring cleanup, a confluence of a number of issues, personnel, equipment, the composting facility hours, compromising, when they can drop off, and having enough people to cover routes and be dropping off the following day. So just some logistics that they assure us will be worked out as we move forward in the future. And as far as the fees for disposal, the yard waste fees should be, and I will request that our yard waste fees, they do a look back on our previous collections and charge us accordingly, so that we are not paying any higher rate than we would expect for yard waste.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's all I had this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Berger.
Yes, would just like to say congratulations to Lieutenant Dennis Wilson on his retirement and thank him for all of his years of service. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. The Board of Control met this evening, Monday, June 21st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. There's one agenda item, approval for the purchase of a Veriscam system on Lorraine Road for the proper actuation to cycle the signal between West 220th Street and West 219th Street. This signal is at the west end entrance, exit of Fairview Park Shopping Center. The loop detectors have deteriorated at this location and can no longer be repaired. This system will not require the city to access private property infrastructure and can be managed safely in a public right-of-way. The quote for the equipment, camera, cable, hardware, etc. totaled $4,680. After installation, it was discovered that the quote did not incorporate labor. In order to install cable to the controller cabinet and installing camera hardware, etc., which was required to be completed by Lampion companies, labor costs were $1,075, bringing the total requested to pay Lampion companies the amount of $5,755. The monies will be paid from the general fund. A motion to pay Lampion companies $5,755 from the general fund was approved 5-0. There be no further business to come before council this evening. The chair would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.